Hello there. Really, people, does any of this make any sense at all? Nothing adds up in this Partygate affair. So what's happening? Are we witnessing the mother of all 5D chess games being played out by Boris Johnson and Dominic Cummings right before our very eyes? Or are they really just a pair of narcissistic tossers? As I tried to doze off last night, I was kept awake by Partygate. Not because I'm so appalled by it, but very puzzled as to how such antics could be kept under wraps for so long by so many people. And a nagging suspicion that something is very amiss with the extracurricular goings on in Downing Street kept me from nodding off. So please indulge my musings and flight of imagination born of a sleepless night. So here's a question for you. If you were a libertarian Prime Minister who has on public record spoken out against ID cards and their ilk, would you introduce extremely authoritarian measures to control the population with a form of ID card? I think the answer is probably no, you wouldn't. And here's another question. If you were a Prime Minister acutely aware that you preside over a party and government with internal Game of Thrones power plays, where there is a rat and a mole in every corner of Downing Street, would you then give your enemies endless opportunities to take you down and discredit not just yourself, but the very laws and restrictions you impose on the nation? I think the answer is again no. So why would you allow and participate in multiple parties and social gatherings in Downing Street, knowing full well every mobile phone is an instrument of your political destruction? Why would you do anything like that in the day and age of Twitter, Facebook and YouTube, where everyone has a mobile BBC studio in their pocket? The police logs everyone in and everyone out, swipe card records can be accessed at will, and there's a political enemy behind every door. And I'm still waiting for the Downing Street security camera footage to get leaked. Also bear in mind that everyone from the press to Heseltine to Adonis and to many in the Tory membership and beyond are all saying that if Boris goes right now, so does Brexit. But the one person who seems to disagree with that is Dominic Cummings. Or is Cummings now so anti-Boris that he'd sacrifice Brexit to see the back of him? Does that add up for you? Boris is right at the apex of white-hot politics, where everyone below him has their eye on the main chance of unseating and replacing him, and Boris knows that. Because that's what he had to do, bide his time and strike at the opportune moment. So why has he been wandering around Ego Central, handing out cases of munitions to his political opponents and to those more than likely to be pro-EU officials? And not even Julius Caesar had to deal with Ramonas. Boris wheedled his way to the top by being far more politically astute than his competitors. So does the idea that he suddenly, overnight, became a political numpty hold any water? And even if he felt relatively safe at the time, surely he was aware that he only needed to look the wrong way at any one of them or use the wrong pronoun and it would all come crashing out. Well, and here is the indulgence and conspiracy theory to end all conspiracy theories on this cold Tuesday morning. If there was, let's speculate, an international and coordinated move by some shadowy deep state to impose authoritarian rule, and it was putting you under intense pressure to toe the line, making unilateral moves of freedom next to impossible, how would you and your Svengali sidekick Cummings, of a similar ideological background to you, counteract this pressure to turn the UK into a dystopian nightmare? Well, one way could be to impose those extreme restrictions that followed the global line and narrative, push the mandate, and then plot with your adversary called Dominic to discredit both yourself, Dominic Cummings, and the government, all some sort of sacrificial act. Play the anti-hero if you like, so it would appear to force you and your government to end all authoritarian restrictions and mandates. And then drip all this out when the correct opportunity arose, let's say at the time of a potential war with, Russia maybe, so that your misdemeanours will be overlooked, allowing you to get on with building your historic legacy. Then one day you would allow the truth of your sacrifice to emerge into the public domain, giving you an even more celebrated chapter in the history books. Such a thing would be most appealing to someone who has a passion for the historic and their own historical legacy. Such a legacy would even overtake, let's say, that of Churchill. Got you going there, didn't I? Yeah, that's completely off the wall. But with the way things are panning out at the moment, with England at the forefront of ditching pandemic rules in the face of fierce political scientific criticism, you have to wonder if this situation would have been reached without Partygate forcing the issue. So, mere coincidence, divine intervention, or maybe... Well, it's either that or Boris, his staff and Cummings are nothing but opportunistic shallow rats with more in common with the despots of antiquity than they would like history to remember them by. And yes, we live in very serious times, when in the face of a weak US president and a split and ineffective European Union, a UK Prime Minister of strength and depth is needed. We don't need a clown who can't even run a tight ship in number 10. But I do still have a nagging what if about this Boris Johnson Dominic Cummings public spat. But hey ho, it's a Tuesday morning and I may have had too much cheese before bed last night. Now Boris would know full well that his every move and the parties in number 10 would make their way into the public arena at some stage. So why did they take place? Or was a lot of it sprung on him by people who should have known better, like the allegation that the number 10 birthday party was organised as a surprise by his wife Carrie? What was he meant to do? Demand everyone leave and then give Carrie a stiff talking to? That would do nothing for marital bliss and could have generated many column inches. Remember the spilt wine episode? And another issue that I've mentioned before is that Boris and his government had all the statistical data on this pandemic, but were clearly not as frightened of it as they wanted us to be. Because if they were, number 10 would have been an exemplar of extreme restrictions. Yet reports suggest it was more like a nightclub. Why? Why were Boris and his government team not scared for their own personal safety and applying strict social distancing? Keeping up appearances on the global stage for the shadowy deep state, but plotting a spectacular piece of theatre that would turn Boris into an epic character from a Greek tragedy, perhaps. And that would appeal to someone with a passion for Greek history. Either that or Boris is a complete immoral fuckwit. But it is difficult to see how someone so inept, contemptible and stupid could become a national leader. Then there is again thoughts about Joe Biden, so one does exist. But whatever your thoughts on this are, we are entering a very dangerous period in world history. As I said yesterday, this Ukraine situation is getting more serious by the hour, with a former head of MI6, Sir Alex Younger, telling the BBC, "It feels dangerous, and it's clearly getting more dangerous. It's hard to see a safe landing zone given the expectations that President Putin has created." With this in mind, do we really need to upset the apple cart right now with a search for a new Prime Minister and all that it entails? Right at the time when many on the international stage are actually saying that the UK is playing the right game. And I suspect those that argue he should go right now are more worried about Boris, and for some Brexit, being saved Thatcher Falklands-like by the Ukrainian bell, rather than worries about global peace. So what's your opinion on whether Boris should go now? Please like and comment below. Please subscribe and like this video, buy a mug and support me on Patreon or PayPal, and thank you for watching.